Hello and welcome to this special show on Rajya Sabha television. I am Vishal Dahiya, and here we take a stock of India's fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Now, there are several aspects, and one of the very important aspects in this battle against COVID-19 pandemic is to try and find out ways and means to tackle this particular virus, be it the repurposed drugs or the vaccine candidates which are being worked upon, and also different ways. For example, the existing vaccines as well. One such aspect is as to how the BCG vaccine works vis-a-vis COVID-19. Does it really help us in fighting against this particular virus? For more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests today, and we'll try and understand as to how BCG vaccine works, whether it has any impact or not. And let me first introduce the guest to you, beginning with Dr. C. Padma Priyadarshini. She is scientist F with the ICMR National Institute of Research in Tuberculosis in Chennai. This particular institute is right now engaged in a study on this particular aspect only. We're also joined by Govardhan Das, a professor at the Special Center for Molecular Medicine at JNU. He's written a paper on this particular aspect. And we're also joined by Dr. Sunila Garg. She's Director Professor and Head of the Community Medicine at Maulana Azad Medical College. Welcome, all of you, to Rajya Sabha TV. Let me begin with you, Dr. Garg, and let's first start by putting things in perspective. Let's first understand and make our viewers understand as well, what exactly is a BCG vaccine in these contexts?
Yeah, it's basically known as Bacilli Calmette Guerin. So BCG, that is there, it's a live attenuated vaccine, and it is supposed to protect against some of the deadliest form of tuberculosis. And earliest it was given in 1920. But then, as a part of the National Tuberculosis Control Program, it came, it was available in 1962. And then as part of the available in that as part of universal immunization, that we are universally immunizing everybody, that means all the children particularly. So that was available in 1985. So basically, see, this vaccine is helpful in preventing against the deadliest form of tuberculosis. Something like, we said tubercular meningitis in case of children, or miliary tuberculosis, that means it affects every organ virtually. So that is where you see our BCG is very effective, and we say that it is basically a live attenuated. It is not a killed vaccine. It is a live attenuated. That means we have reduced the potency of vaccine. And in 1990, rather than earlier 80s, we carried out a trial in Chengalpet, which also showed that BCG is recommended by the government basically for protecting against, miliary tuberculosis, and also about the tuberculosis meningitis. It was not very helpful in protecting against pulmonary tuberculosis. So we are still continuing it as form of, universal immunization program. That means every child at the time of institutional delivery is given 0.05 ml of BCG vaccine. If we miss at that time, because many deliveries don't take place in the institution, so at the first dose, when other vaccines are taking place, that the child is of 6 weeks of age, we give them 0.01 ml of this vaccine. So this is one.
Okay, so BCG vaccine has been part of our vaccination program for quite some time now. Let me bring in Professor Das here first. Professor Das, you've written a paper on the correlation between BCG vaccine and COVID-19. So what exactly is the correlation here when we're talking about this particular virus and this particular pandemic? Is BCG helpful or effective in any way?
When we early in March, around 14th or 15th of March, when we started looking at the spreading of this virus throughout the world, what we noticed that all the countries are not really equally affected. So the question comes, what are the things that can affect the variable susceptibility of this virus? So to make it a long story short, what we found is one thing consistently what we are getting, the countries who are having the universal BCG vaccination, their severity as well as the mortality is much less than those who did not get the BCG vaccination. Top of my head, I can take you some of the example I'm taking for today. For example, US, which is having 17,977 cases per million incidences, and the death is 551. So Spain, which is 9,051 cases per million, and the death is 619. Italy, 4,321 and 586 death rate per million. On the other hand, those who got the vaccination, for example, Thailand, Japan, India, Greece, for example, Thailand, as you see, per million cases is 49 and death is 0.08. On the other hand, the Japan is per million cases is 499 and death is only 9. Whereas India, as you see, 2,341 cases per million and the death is 40 per million cases. Once again, it makes a clear distinction that the incidence as well as the mortality has something linked with this COVID susceptibility. Later on, when we published the paper, several other papers, including PNS and other journals, at least 6 of the papers I reviewed, only one claim, this is BCG definitely has some kind of correlation with the inverse correlation rather with COVID susceptibility. And in mid-March, I have written to the ministry, I have written to the ICMR DG, I have written, scientific advisor. So we should start the BCG vaccination and revaccination. In fact, the last week there is a paper still not in peer review, but it's been published in so-called biometrics. The study from the Emirates International Hospital, UAE. The data looks like those who revaccinated with BCG, they got the incidence of 8 point. Those who revaccinated with BCG got 0% incidence. On the other hand, there is some correlation with the BCG vaccination with COVID-19 susceptibility.
Okay. Let me now bring in Dr. Padma Priyadarshini here. Dr. Padma, one question obviously would be that would you agree with what is being put forth by Professor Das here? And second, your institute is also conducting a multi-centric study. So what's the premise of that study, and then what exactly is your team working on when we talk about BCG vaccine and COVID-19?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I tend to agree with Dr. Das. So what we have also seen across the literature that's published is countries that have been giving BCG vaccine or have given and now stopped, their rate of COVID-19, both the incidence and severity, seems to be much less than the countries who were not ever given the vaccination, or they gave and then they subsequently stopped. So based on these claims and premises, our study is planning to look at vaccinate elderly individuals, especially above the age of 60 years, with comorbid conditions, including diabetes and hypertension. Vaccinate them and see the incidence or the severity of COVID disease in these elderly individuals. So we are trying to look at how much it protects, and if it protects, then how long is the protection, and the severity of the disease if they get infected. So this will be done across the country in multiple sites, 6 sites, and we plan to complete. We just started the study late July. So we plan to complete the enrollments quickly and have the results. So get the answers whether it protects or it does not protect. It's one way or the other.
Okay. Yeah. Dr. Garg, if we look at what Dr. Padma is pointing out and what Dr. Das is saying, there seems to be some evidence or some pointing out there that there seems to be some correlation between BCG vaccine and the way it works vis-a-vis COVID-19, perhaps with respect to the elderly persons, those who are more at risk. We're talking about bringing down mortality rates here. So how would you look at this particular theory here?
You see, there is no doubt about the fact that BCG vaccine has got an immune boosting power. You see, the studies which are being carried out, which have been done in Netherlands, they have been done in Australia, they have been done in Germany, which are looking at healthcare workers basically, and we are looking at that part that they are getting infections in the, particularly the respiratory infections in less severe forms. And accordingly, you see the mortality is also lesser part of it. But when I look at it from the larger perspective or from the public health perspective, in past also we have had vaccine shortages to a great extent. That is number one point. And this is one of the most important vaccines which the countries are including in their national programs for the children. So on one hand is the trial, which needs a very, very careful monitoring, and WHO itself is monitoring these trials very, very carefully, because three things are in my mind right now. That number one, you see, we should not be coming across, the trial definitely is necessary. Any kind of, newer issue, particularly in context of COVID-19, when we are looking at different parts, is important to look at. But then also we should also look at that this BCG vaccine should not provide us false sense of security. Number two. Number three is that monitoring of the trial is very, very important. But there are other confounders also, which may give the similar results. You see, as when we look at BCG vaccine, so we have to look at, when we advocate about the BCG vaccine, we have to look at these many things, because the countries are already incorporating this vaccine as a part of their national immunization program. And particularly the production of the vaccine has been problematic in past, and at times we are facing global shortages and all that, meaning that children are compromised. So these are some of my major concerns as a public health expert.
Okay. Professor Das, would you agree to those concerns out there? And obviously there seems to be some correlation, but we also have to be very, very careful about how this vaccine might work or might not work. And also, as Dr. Garg is pointing out, it cannot give us a false sense of security.
I agree with Dr. Garg. And at the same time, what I was talking about, this is, as we all know, and now in the literature, it is almost clear that there is some correlation. So I understand there might be shortage of BCG vaccine, but indeed, and that is what I proposed initially. Instead of BCG, probably we can have in fact indigenous beta strain, which is we call MIP, Mycobacterium indicus pranae, which grows much faster than the BCG. And in fact, we published several papers on MIP. It is antigenically, it is little, in fact, far better than BCG. So then in fact, I wrote it to the science minister also, can we have actually, in absence of specific vaccine, can we go for the BCG or MIP? So basically, that is what we are, asking for. In fact, as you know, the MIP trial has been done in UP, not for COVID, but for TB. So basically, still we have some kind of not only BCG, but we also have another strain. So therefore, I think production can be taken much faster, much faster. Another 20 seconds. Not only that, as I understand, basically the BCG is of course a bacteria. How it can give the immunity against the virus, which is COVID-19. So it's definitely the big question, quote and unquote, big question. So for that, what I proposed initially, can we make it some specific? And the several papers are coming out right at this moment. BCG gives the protection because of something called trained immunity or innate memory responses. I understand. Can we make that is in fact more specific? How do we do that? Can we make generate recombinant BCG that expresses so-called quote unquote antigenic proteins of COVID? That's what I was proposing all the way. And in fact, we are working on it. And I think we have to harness that innate immunity provided by the BCG. On top of that, we have to give some kind of adaptive immune responses or the specific immune responses against the COVID-19.
Okay. Perhaps Dr. Padma would like to respond to that point which you are making, Professor Das there. Dr. Padma?
Yeah, thank you. So I totally agree with Dr. Garg about false sense of security once BCG is given. So one thing I want to mention is what we are currently doing is a study and trial. It's not into the program yet. So they are all the individuals who will be receiving this vaccination are under close monitoring. So we are looking for the safety monitoring in these individuals who are part of the study. So this is purely a study or a trial, as you call it, and they'll be very closely monitored. So the sense of false security is taken care of there. And about the shortage of the vaccine, this will be done in a limited number of people. So it will be so we don't have to immediately worry about the shortage of the BCG vaccine currently. And about the trained immune response, I agree with Dr. Das. So yes, I do agree it's a bacterial thing and going against the virus. It's because of trained immunity. It's going to stimulate your T cells and memory cells, and which is a universal immunity against infections. So we are very closely monitoring it. As I said before, this is a hypothesis, and as we wait for more specific COVID-specific vaccines to come, which I think will come very soon, we are offering this particular hypothesis is being tested out, and I only hope we get this COVID-specific vaccine very soon.
Okay. So how do you propose we move ahead from here onwards? From for our viewers' benefit, if you put it down in layman's terms, Dr. Padma, how do we, as general people, how do we look at it? The correlation between BCG vaccine and COVID-19.
Okay, so one thing is, as we age, our immune responses go down. So there's something called age-related senescence of immunity. Like once you cross a threshold, probably 50 years, 50, 60, 70s, your immunity starts declining. So this particular vaccine, what it's trying to do is boost the immune cells or boost your T cells and your white blood cells and everything, which fights against the virus or fights against the bacteria. So once this is vaccinated, the next time you're exposed to this particular virus or a bacteria, your immunity level builds up fast. It doesn't wait for the initial 14 or 21 days. It is already a threshold, and then your immune cells go up. So this vaccination gives you a broad spectrum of immunity against pathogens, especially elderly, where your immunity level is it comes down with increasing age.
Okay, and how long before we get to know the results of the study which your institute is carrying out? Because that study will make us understand more clearly about this correlation and how effective it might be, the BCG vaccine, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, specifically in bringing down the mortality rate.
We've just started the study, so we are trying to finish the enrollments to the trial very soon, probably in another month or so. We should complete the enrollments. And we will have the results ready by the end of 6 months after the vaccination is done.
Okay. So that's time we will have to wait to try and find out the exact result of the study which is being carried out by NIRT. Let me bring in Dr. Garg here again. Dr. Garg, moving forward on this concept, if we are looking at, looks like the idea from the beginning has been to bring down the mortality rate, specifically amongst that particular section of the population which is considered more vulnerable due to comorbidities. So what do we understand in terms of a way forward from here onwards vis-a-vis BCG vaccine and COVID-19?
We have to look at the more wider range of respiratory infections, which are very, very common, you see, in terms of COVID-19 also. So whether you see we are also not only in mortality or morbidity range of morbidity, but whether we are having lesser range of these infections also have got to be reviewed from that perspective. So when we are looking at this trial, we not only look at in terms of whether you see the incidence or the new cases of COVID-19 are reduced, but even if people get COVID-19, are they having lesser severity of infections, which will lead to lesser number of deaths also. And these 3 studies which are being carried out in these different countries amongst healthcare workers, which are already telling that healthcare workers are basically getting less severe and which are directly watched by WHO. So we need to look at from that perspective, and we need to watch these trials very, very carefully with a very open mind. As I said, there can be other confounders also.
Let me bring in Professor Das here. Professor Das, how would you summarize the entire discussion here and the way forward? As Dr. Garg was pointing out earlier as well, that we also need to look at some other aspects.
I agree with the thought, and let me make one point here. Already monkey data is available. The monkeys which been immunized with the BCG in the latter part of life, the monkey is being protected from various respiratory diseases. That's the data already published. So basically, here, as you know, the COVID-19 is also a respiratory disease. Hopefully that works. So number one. Number two, so here we are talking about BCG immunization or so BCG immunization, as I mentioned, the BCG of course is then giving some kind of immunity, but that is non-specific. So basically, we cannot really depend on the non-specific immunity, and this is a false sense of security, as Professor Garg rightfully mentioned. So basically, can we make it specific? How do we make it specific? So from here, what we can see, this is we have to harness this is non-specific immunity, whatever it is given by the BCG. On top of that, can we make it specific? That is what we have to go for some kind of recombinant technology or maybe genetic engineering technology, so that we can really put COVID-19 specific immune responses. One thing I would like to mention here, several papers are coming out right now. Only the antibody that works against COVID-19 is the antibody against something called RBD, the receptor binding domain of the spike protein. As you know, the COVID-19 has a big spike protein, which acts as a ligand with the ACE2 of human epithelial cells, where there's RBD region of receptor binding domain. If you can generate antibody against that particular domain, probably that is the vaccine, successful vaccine. Problem is, the several literature is now coming out. The antibody response in COVID patient fades away within couple of months. So basically, its memory is not being generated. Now, one should find it out how a vaccine has to be designed in such a way that memory can sustain longer time. Number two, not only the antibody, but we also have to have some kind of T cell responses. So literature says, in fact, yesterday I have looked at the literature. Literature says only cytotoxic T cell works those who are against so-called nucleocapsid protein. So therefore, a vaccine has to have an epitope or a protein which can generate antibody and that is last for long, and also T cell response against the nucleocapsid protein which lasts for long. So basically, one have to be smart enough to generate both antibodies as well as T cell response, so that you can get longer immune responses, or you can generate a vaccine, or you generate a vaccine which one dose or maybe one booster dose can take with the lifelong.
Okay. Thank you so much there, Professor Das. And I would also like to thank Dr. Garg and Dr. Padma for joining us on this discussion. Thank you for sharing your views and for informing our viewers as well. So there it is, all about the BCG vaccine and its correlation with COVID-19. There is some evidence, but there are studies which are still being done. One such study being done by NIRT in Chennai, and we'll get to know more details when the results of these studies are out. We'll come back again with a different topic and different set of guests on this particular show. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha television, and please do not forget to wear a face mask when you step out of your house, because that is the only and the basic protection as of now against COVID-19. Thank you.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 9:30 p.m.